And we are live. Welcome into the week 6 fantasy football forum prep show. This is the Vampire Fantasy Football Forum podcast or stream, however you're listening or watching us. If you're watching us on YouTube streaming, drop in that, get in on that like button, subscribe, find out when we go live. Find us on Spotify also, Fantasy Football Forum as well. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, get notified when we go live with new shows. And we are once again prepping for week 6. This is the first week we have buys in the NFL. So remember, prepare accordingly for the teams that are on buys. Here are the teams that are on buys. If you are not aware, if I hope you are, but if not, here they are: the Lions, Titans, Raiders, and Texans. So you'll need to find replacements for players like Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson, Jared Goff, Derrick Henry, Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, Pierce from the Texans, and Brandon Cooks, and any other players that you might have rostered that are within those teams. On the slate this week, the main slate. I get it. Everybody's been talking about it. This has been what we have been waiting for all season long. This slate is headlined by the Bills and Chiefs playing this week, and it is the highest scoring week. Close behind that is the Cardinals and Seahawks. That should be also an interesting game. But I'd like to throw a caveat here. This should not be a simple this show is not just a simple, here's the game log, here's who I like. And I think I've done that in the past, and I really don't like how that goes. I don't like that format. Yes, we should look at players who we like or don't like. We should look at matchups, see where we can find an advantage over our opponents. Correct. We should be doing that each week. But while we look at what has happened in the past, if we are only looking at players and their total score of what's happened each week, then we're doing ourselves we're being very reactionary in our takes here. We're being very reactionary in how we play fantasy football, and that's bad process. This is how it leads to points chasing on the waiver wire. This is how it leads to points chasing when, oh, I should have played this guy because he scored so many points last week, so therefore I have to do it again this week, and disappointment happens again. This is also what gives the illusion of more randomness than what is actually out there in fantasy football. Fantasy football does not have to be hard. We make it hard, though, at times. Okay. But it's that type of randomness that actually leads to more of the frustration when you're playing and you're looking, at a single thing when you have a whole forest out there. And I can't see this because I'm looking directly at one thing versus out seeing everything and seeing all the maze that's out there, seeing all the dots, trying to connect them. Well, that's part of what we're trying to do here. Connect those dots together, not look at what happened, not say, well, this player's good, this player's bad because they scored a lot of points, but understand why and if that is replicable, or if not, if it's a replicable again for a different player playing a different team and why it is. Now, as I've stated before, part of what we like to do, what we want to do, we have enough data now to look at the upcoming defenses that are playing against other teams. And we'd like to see how those teams, how the defenses play against positions versus other positions. So that is what we're going to be doing partly as we look at games and as we're highlighting things within those games. Yes, you should play good players. Yes, there are things, there are sleepers out there that we can highlight, but where does our edge lie? That's where we want to be as we prepare for fantasy football, and we are trying to take advantage as we make up our lineups correctly. So let's go game by game, and let's go quick. 49ers at Falcons. The 49ers are 5.5 point favorite. It's kind of a 44.5. It's middle of the pack scoring, which I think, that's probably fair but I also could see this one being a little bit lower scoring. Atlanta has a kind of sneaky defense. They are the seventh worst matchup against the quarterback position. They are the ninth worst matchup against running backs and the sixth worst matchup against wide receivers. And against tight ends, the eighth worst. Now, we saw last week Tom Brady and the Tampa Brady's use Fournette as the lead wide receiver and lead running back, which he had a fantastic day. And San Francisco likes to run the ball. We already know this. So we could see guys like Jeff Wilson, Debo be a really good option again this week, but you don't need me to tell you that. If you have these guys, you're already playing them. Jimmy Garoppolo is a streaming option. There you go. On the Niners side of defense, they are the best team against quarterbacks. So if you are thinking about playing Marcus Mariota, don't. I would not take Marcus Mariota as a streaming quarterback this year. Running backs, the 49ers are the sixth best against running backs. So Atlanta still has Cordell Patterson on IR, Tyler Algier, Avery Williams, Damian Williams potentially, Caleb Huntley. They're all guys that they've come out. This is not a good offense. They struggled last week. They're going to struggle again this week. If you have them, I would say go find other players. This is not, what you want to have for running backs. This is a tough game. Atlanta's going to probably be down and forced to throw. Again, we can't speculate game script, but if that's, we don't know it. We only speculate it. But if it's what's there, it's what's there. On to wide receivers and pass catchers for Atlanta. San Francisco is the ninth best in that position. So they're almost top 10 against pass catchers. Now, rookie wide receiver Drake London has logged a 76% snap share through the first 5 weeks. He has a target share of 32%. That is very good. Drake London is the guy that we wanted him to be. He is the guy we wanted, every rookie wide receiver to be. He is that guy. He's what we wanted Kyle Pitts to be, in all honesty. So he could be a valid flex fit here. I mean, the ceiling potentially a wide receiver to a low end, but I think a good flex play here. Kyle Pitts did limited practice this week, but I haven't seen it yet. Pitts hasn't shown it. If you spent the draft capital on him, maybe you have a different option at tight end, an Evan Ingram or somebody like that on the waiver wire. I'd sit him. If I had him, I'd probably sit him. All right, a little more exciting game coming up. It is the Patriots and the Browns, and the Browns are a 2.5-point favorite. Doesn't really surprise me. The total, again, kind of the middle, a little bit less than what the first game was, but it's 43.5. Both teams you can run on. Both teams you are able to run on. On the Patriots side, there are key injuries. Jacoby Myers, 1 week, he is limited, doesn't play. The next week, he's limited. He scores 171 yards, or not scores that, but he catches, he has receiving 170 yards. Okay, don't know. Pay attention to the log. Jonathan Smith is also on the injury report. Damian Harris is showing up as limited, but when his hamstring injury happened, it was said he's going to miss a few weeks. If he's still designated as limited, I think it's a ploy. I don't think he plays. Mac Jones is also limited, but I'm not necessarily holding my breath. I think it's going to either be Brian Hoyer or Bailey Zappi again for New England. And last is Nelson Agholor. Now, as I'm recording this, if you have and want to try to use Damian Harris or Mac Jones, that's at your own risk. Pay attention to the report. Be ready to pivot off of them. I believe Myers would probably be a go. But again, he was a go 1 week. He got limited. He wasn't a go. Again, pay attention. The Patriots aren't going to tell you anything. No, spoiler alert, no NFL team is really going to tell you anything about what their players are going to do, what they want to do, okay? Cleveland's really middle of the pack when it comes to quarterback scoring for fantasy. They're nothing special. However, New England does have 10 more runs than passing plays this year, so they do like to run the ball. They want to run the ball. And you can run against Cleveland. They are not a bad matchup when it comes to backfield. Well, there is some speculation of Ramondre Stevenson. This is his backfield. Is going to get, an 80, 90, 100% snap share. I'm going to back off a little bit on that. I think he's a very good play, and I think he is a potential top 10 running back. If you have him, if you drafted him and held on, this is the time. Last week was the time, but this is the time again. However, okay, Pierre Strong is still in that backfield, rookie there, and don't be surprised when he gets some workload and takes some away from Stevenson. That's why I think Stevenson is a potential top 10, not top 5, for that reason as well. Okay. On the Brown side, New England does stack up close on defense. They're not the vaunted defense that they once were, how the mighty have fallen. In quarterbacks, if you've been using Brissett, he's another safe option. You can go out and use him, especially if you're in 2 QB leagues or you need a streamer. Not a bad option. Against the run, New England has yet to give up a rushing touchdown. Now, that probably changes this week, but they have yet to give up a rushing touchdown or a receiving touchdown to a running back. Again, this is going to be put against the test. Cleveland wants to run, and they have 2 of the best in the same backfield for this. On average, New England gives up to wide receivers 150 yards to that position. Now, that doesn't mean 150 yards are going to go to Amari Cooper. I think Amari we've seen the booms. We've seen the boom weeks. We've seen them there. There are going to be some down weeks. This might be one of those. If you need something very, 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 very desperate, Donovan Peoples-Jones. And if you have room, you still need a stash of Donovan Peoples-Jones. Okay? Deshaun Watson's coming back. That's going to be the guy you want if you don't have Amari Cooper. The one thing I do like about this offense is David Njoku. New England, you can use the tight ends against New England. That is one position that you can utilize that. So if you have stream tight ends, if you have, you went late tight end and you have Njoku, good week to play him. Next, I'm going to discuss Jets and Packers. Packers are a 7.5 point favorite. This game is a total of 45, so a little bit better. Last week, the Jets were able to come surprise us. They beat the Dolphins pretty handily. Now, this is while Zach Wilson didn't throw a touchdown to wide receiver. This was a Breece Hall show for the Jets. Breece Hall has been increasing his snap share and sits at 51% for his snap share, while teammate Michael Carter is at 52% snap share for this season. The difference is Hall has a rush percent of 47%, and his target share is 25% on the season. The only player greater on the Jets of a target percent is Garrett Wilson at 30%. Just remember that. This is the Breece Hall backfield. This is the guy that is coming up. If you've had him, you can play him. Okay. Packers are a middle of the road against running backs for fantasy points. What they give up to running backs. Carter's still going to work in. So, Carter could be a flex option, but Breece Hall is that RB2 that is going to work up to an RB1 very soon. Green Bay is 10th best against wide receiver position, and the Jets do like to throw the ball a lot. I think it really depends on how Green Bay lines up Jair Alexander. Who does he cover? Does he cover Elijah Moore? Does he cover Garrett Wilson? I like the guy that he's not covering. Probably, if I'm taking a stab, it's Elijah Moore. We haven't seen it yet. I really don't like playing it if I have to, but you probably don't have another better option. On the Green Bay side of the ball, the Jets are very middle of the road defense for fantasy points to quarterbacks. That means, I really think there are better plays at quarterback this week than Aaron Rodgers. That really hurts to say sometimes because he is one of the greats of all time. So I'm probably going to have to eat my words after this game. That's fine. I actually prefer Geno Smith playing the Cardinals. I think he's a better stream than playing Aaron Rodgers this week. I just do. And that's not news breaking. That is not. There are plenty of people out there that are saying that. Okay. I think Aaron Rodgers has been trying to fill the void of Devontae Adams, and they're seeing the struggle of that. And that's why this passing game is not lifting off the ground very well. On the running backs, the Jets are the 10th best against the position with when it comes to giving up fantasy points. However, this is a straight up split between Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. Okay, Jones has a higher floor. If you have Jones, you're playing him. Dillon is a flex play. We are seeing this play out again and again. Okay, they're going to cannibalize each other's workloads here. Okay, the next game. This is a good one to discuss. This is a good one to think about, folks. This is a rematch from week 2. It's Jaguars and Colts. This is on the lower end of the points total at 42. The Jaguars are a 2-point favorite, and I think they should be a favorite. The Colts have struggled this year. But again, it's a great opportunity to discuss what happened in week 2. The last time they played, the Jaguars just came out and destroyed the Colts. That does not mean, and probably always rarely means, that this is not going to happen again. What happened last time does not happen again the same way. Okay. The teams that, when these teams face off in week 2, this is not the same team. This is different. This is a different game. It's a new situation. What happened before, I'll say it again, won't happen again. Okay, if you hear somebody touting, well, this is what happened before, I'm going to peg this guy as this. This is really what happened. Stop listening to that advice. That is second-tier advice. That is not stuff that you have to listen to, okay? Remember, this is a divisional game. Pandemonium will ensue. And again, like I said, this is not week 2. It is week 6. Okay. It is week 6. So, things to highlight in this game. Travis Etienne, his snap share, his what he has been doing, it is increasing week over week. He is taking that backfield over from James Robinson. James Robinson still has a 52% snap share, and I get it. Travis Etienne has 47%, though. The run percent is a 38 to 46%. It's been increasing every week. Travis Etienne is going to be the guy. Be patient. Okay? Be patient with him. If you have him, the Colts, as I looked this up, the Colts are very much middle of the road when it comes to running backs, what they give up. They give up more in the air and on receptions than they do on the ground. So if Etienne's getting that work in the air, he's a good play. Christian Kirk, he could be facing a favorable matchup. I would not start Marvin Jones. If you have Zay Jones, he's only a flex-worthy spot in this one right here. When it comes to the Colts, okay, Jonathan Taylor still is injured, could be out. If he is, you know the drill. It's not Nyheim Hines. We already know that that's not going to happen. We already saw how they handle concussion protocol. We don't need to do that again. It's going to be Jackson that gets the work, and he could get a lot of work here, okay? On the pass catching side, if it's not Michael Pittman, if it's not Alec Pierce, don't have it. The injury to Ashton Dulin is what's skyrocketing Alec Pierce. That's really what it is. That's what is skyrocketing Alec Pierce here. Paris Campbell is not able to do anything. This is who you need to focus on. It's Pittman, it's Pierce. If Taylor goes, yes, you're starting him. You put a first round, probably the first pick overall there. It's that. Simple. Okay. Vikings and Dolphins. And this is the Vikings are a 3.5-point favorite. And I think Vegas looks at this game and sees that Tua is out. Teddy Bridgewater is probably going to back up Skylar Thompson. Tyreek Hill's been injured, and he looks like he's going to play. Jalen Waddle's also been injured. He also looks like he's going to play. But their ceiling is not as high as if it's Tua throwing the ball. Now, they can have success. They can do that, definitely. But Vegas is looking at this game as, well, hold on a sec. The Vikings aren't a bad defense. Okay? Against wide receivers, and let's really look at and highlight wide receivers here. Minnesota, not a shabby defense. They are directly in the middle of what they give up. And it's 163 yards. And it's not even a touchdown a game to wide receivers. Okay. Not even to that position. So if you think that, it doesn't matter who Tyreek or Jalen Waddle have as quarterback, they're going to get open. They're so fast. Yeah, that could happen. But I think Vegas has this one pegged a little bit differently. I think we have to be ready for, a little bit struggle for Miami. We saw them struggle against the Jets, and the Vikings are a lot better team than the Jets are. On the flip side, you're going to start Justin Jefferson. You'll start Dalvin Cook if he's healthy, which it appears he is. He's playing through a shoulder injury. You're starting those guys. Kirk Cousins is on pace to have a really good season. We all saw that if you drafted. If you went late round quarterback, this is not new information. Okay. Next one. Again, I'm not going to go start this guy. Don't start this guy. Well, that's not how we do it. We're looking at defenses. We're looking at what stands out, how to think about things, or if we do start a player, should we be a little bit lower on what we expect from him? Bengals and Saints. And this game is a 43-point over-under for a game total, and the Bengals are 2-point favorite here on the road. Part of that is Jameis Winston. While it looks like he might suit up, he is probably not playing at this moment. Also, the pass catchers for the Saints, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave, all of them potentially are out. Chris Olave probably has the best chance because he's in concussion protocol to come back. It might be a hard one. And how often is Taysom Hill going to be able to carry this team like he did last week? And they're not facing Seattle. Cincinnati is a lot better defense than Seattle. On the Bengals side, if you have T. Higgins, start him at your own risk. He could do the same thing he did last week. You might be better off benching him. And there are really, for T. Higgins, there are two options. You start him and get a goose egg. You bench him. He's going to go out and have a career day. I don't know. On the Saints side again, Marshawn Lattimore is out. So Jamar Chase, this might be a week he's unlocked. This might be the week to go play him. Joe Burrow has struggled this year, but the Saints are not a tough matchup when it comes to quarterbacks. Let's move on. We don't need to talk about the game a whole lot, and some of these games we really don't need to talk about as we get going here. Ravens and Giants, and I mean, this game Vegas thinks it's going to be a pretty high scoring game. It's 45. If you're not this is the highest or second highest outside of Vikings and Dolphins that don't reach 50 points for the week. So there you go. The Giants, only Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts have more rushing yards as a quarterback than Daniel Jones. Both these quarterbacks like to run. We have seen Baltimore give up leads. They've given up on positions to the wide receiver. They have given up points there. Now, the problem is the Giants don't really have their best wide receiver that they're rolling out is going to be Darius Slayton. So if you're starting Daniel Jones, you're not starting him because he's going to throw a whole heck of a lot and he's going to do amazing that way. The Giants run through Saquon Barkley, and you can run on on Baltimore, but they are coming into form. They are a pretty decent run defense, though. On the Ravens side, we saw Green Bay run on them, get a lead, and run. If that happens, this could be a pretty good day for J.K. Dobbins if they use him well. I will say on a season notes, because this has kind of been a little bit frustrating at times, but on the season, Dobbins now has a 28% snap share, where the next one he is tied with Justice Hill. Ken Drake is the third one. This is what they want. They want Dobbins out there, and they want to back him up, whether it's Kenyon Drake or Justice Hill. Mike Davis is going to be left off. A run percentage, Dobbins has the most still. It's a 21% run percentage for this team. It's going to be his show as he gets healthy, and the more he gets healthy, the more run he's going to get. So I get it. If you started him last week, I did in a few leagues, he probably disappointed a little bit, but good days are ahead. Don't forget about that. When it comes to against running backs, I'll just highlight the New York Giants here real quick. I mean, they're no slouch, but they give up over 114 yards, and they give up around 30 yards in the air to pass catching backs. So it's a pretty decent day. Now, where they're not giving up is touchdowns. They don't give up very many touchdowns to the position, but you make it up in yards. It's not just about touchdowns. Next one. This is going to be a short one. It is the Bucs and the Steelers, and there's a lot of injuries on the Pittsburgh side. This is a 44-point game total, and the Bucs are an 8-point favorite. Now, Chris Godwin's probably out again this week. Mike Evans is there. Russell Gage should go. Julio Jones is probably out. Leonard Fournette, again, it's Leonard Fournette. It's the time. And if you don't have him, you better have Rachaad White. On Pittsburgh side, it's going to be a tough one. Against running backs, Tampa Bay is the second best against the position. They don't give a whole lot to running backs. So if you have Najee Harris, it's going to be a rough day. I'm not saying don't play him. I am, because if you have him, there's probably not a guy that has a better option as far as what you think he can do. He gets the volume. I will say that because Najee Harris has a 66% snap share. I don't care what Jaylen Warren did last week. That was garbage time. It doesn't count. For the season, it's a 2/3, 1/3. And it's not even that close when it comes to the run percent. Najee Harris has a 61% run percent for the week. It's not close. Okay. It's going to be tough. This is not the way, if you're a Steelers fan, you want Kenny Pickett season to start. Bills, then Bucs. It's going to be tough. Now, I'm not saying anything new. So we've all predicted this is going to be tough. Why? Because of what happened last week and how this team's going. The Bucs only beat the Falcons wasn't handedly. It wasn't just the Falcons had a chance to win. Pittsburgh may not be as bad or as toasty as we think they are. So I don't see a onslaught against them. I don't see another 38-3 from what Buffalo did to them this week. I think it's going to be a little bit closer. It could be 10 points, could be a touchdown. So don't just get all despairing like, well, I don't know what we can do. Don't just take what people say and say, well, this is what should happen, because that's not what's going to happen. We have to be open-minded to say this is not what's going to happen. Almost done here. Panthers at Rams. The Rams are actually a 10-point favorite. I don't see it. I see this being a very low-scoring game. Panthers have a very good defense. It's a very underrated defense. And as we've seen, Matthew Stafford, that O-line for the Rams, you can get to Matthew Stafford. This is what the issue is. Now, everybody's talking about DJ Moore and how last time PJ Walker was there, DJ Moore had like a 28% target share. That is the law of number one wide receivers, though. Number one wide receivers, despite the quarterback, because we have seen this before. DeAndre Hopkins, how many bad quarterbacks in Texas did he have? He still had the snap share. This is what being an alpha is. Now, the problem is DJ Moore has not been able to translate that to actual fantasy usefulness this year. We're going to find out if that was a Baker Mayfield problem or if this is now a DJ Moore problem. If DJ Moore is going to have the next problem like Allen Robinson had. I don't need to tell you start Christian McCaffrey. You already know Cam Akers is out. I'm sitting Allen Robinson if you haven't already dropped him. You're playing Cooper Kupp. There it is. Second highest score of the week. Cardinals Seahawks. The Seahawks on paper, this is where analytics kind of gets a little muddled sometimes. The Seahawks on paper look to be a tough matchup when it comes to wide receivers. But the teams they have faced, this is where we have to kind of shift and take things in context. This team they have faced was the Seahawks have faced the Lions without Amon-Ra. The Lions had Josh Reynolds and TJ Hawkinson. And they faced the Saints that did not have Michael Thomas, did not have Jarvis Landry, and really didn't have Chris Olave because he got concussion that week. So while they look like they're a pretty tough matchup against wide receivers, I think this is where sneaky is. I think Marquise Brown has a really good day here today. Cardinals don't really have a good defense. So again, this could be a pretty good shootout if you have Kyler Murray, if you have Marquise Brown, you're starting them, you're starting DK Metcalf, you're starting Tyler Lockett. Where I will highlight, though, is on the running backs. You should play Kenneth Walker, and you also should play Eno Benjamin. I've talked about Eno Benjamin for weeks now, and this is now his time. Before James Conner got hurt, Eno Benjamin still had a 34% snap share. He had a 22% run share in this offense. That's with James Conner healthy. Now, everybody's talking about Keontae Ingram. Well, it's Eno Benjamin, Keontae Ingram. Actually, I think it's Eno Benjamin and Corey Clement, who they just signed. I think Corey Clement actually takes a step over Keontae Ingram. It's Eno Benjamin and Corey Clement, and Eno Benjamin could play his way to take more of the workload from James Conner. Watch out for that. Lastly, and this is going to be kind of a little TED talk here a little bit, so bear with me here. Last game I'm going to discuss, I'm not talking about Cowboys-Eagles because they're Monday night. Or excuse me, they are Sunday night. They are the Sunday night game. So for the main slate games, this doesn't matter, but they are the Sunday night game. But Bills and Chiefs. I really want to focus on this game because this is the game that's probably been highlighted to no end this week. And what I mentioned earlier with the Colts and the Jaguars is the last time these two teams faced, it doesn't matter. What happened last time is a data point. These two teams haven't faced yet this year. So the last time these teams faced, it was the divisional game where Patrick Mahomes and company led a drive that got them to within a field goal in 13 seconds. That was last year. Yes, technically I know it's this calendar year, but you understand that was last season. That being last season, these are two different teams now. Different players, different defenses, different. Yes, there are similar faces. There's some similarities, but this is now different. Last year, you could run on the Chiefs a lot more than you could this year. This year, you can throw on them a lot better. So it's going to play differently. We just saw the Bills and Gabe Davis get a 98-yard touchdown against the Steelers. We've seen the speed. We've seen what can happen. The last time these teams faced, Gabe Davis had 4 touchdowns. That doesn't mean that's going to happen again. We just saw a boom week from Gabe Davis. What if it's Stephon Diggs? What if it's Isaiah McKenzie? What if it's I forget the rookie's name, Khalil Shakir? What if it's them? So don't fall in the trap to think, well, this is what's going to happen. We don't know. We don't know who's going to win. We don't know what game script's going to be. We don't know any of that. I think it's going to be a hard game for Kansas City because the Bills are a very good defense. But last year, and again, this is the only point I'm making. Last year, they were also a very good defense. Kansas City proved that they can score points. That is the one thing that they do. They prove they can score points. Buffalo is a top 10 team against running backs. Kansas City really doesn't run a whole lot, so I don't expect that from them. They're also top 5 against wide receivers. And against tight ends, they're also top 10. They're top 5 against quarterbacks. It's going to be tough. But how many of those numbers are skewed because of one absolutely fantastic game? Okay. They have faced good teams. They beat Matthew Stafford week 1 and the Rams. But we've seen the Rams took a step back this year. So we have to take everything in context here. Everything should be taken in context. If you would like, I'll kind of review the Cowboys-Eagles. If you want me to say who I would start or not, I mean, yes, you're starting Kelsey. There's not a better option. Yes, you're starting Patrick Mahomes. Yes, you're starting Josh Allen. Yes, you're starting Stephon Diggs. Yeah, you're probably starting Gabe Davis. You're probably, hopefully, sitting the running backs from this game. If you have to take a dart throw on a Kansas City receiver, it's Juju. Why? Buffalo likes to play too deep. They did against last year against when they had Tyreek, but what they also know is when you blitz Mahomes, he is different. You don't blitz Mahomes. You let him make the play come to you. That's when Mahomes gets in trouble. And that's where I like Juju. If it's a zone, Juju is one of the best at zone, or at least he has been historically. So I like Juju as a potential wide receiver for Kansas City. But again, it's going to be a hard matchup. Cowboys-Eagles, we're going to find out how real the Cowboys are. We're also going to find out how real the Eagles are. I think the Eagles are a lot more real than the Cowboys. The Cowboys are a little one-dimensional. They run this through Zeke, and that's it. Till that changes, the ceiling is capped for guys like CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, or even a quarterback, because this cannot run through Zeke and be successful all the time. So there is this week's episodes. If you have questions, you have a start-sit question, feel free to drop it in the chat. We'll be here. Now, I hope you end this week as happy as you started it. I hope your team does well, and I wish you all the best of success, and we will be back next week for our reactions. We'll see you then.